What is up, you guys? It is your boy, Phoenix Brenton here, and welcome to today's video. In today's video, we are going to be talking about the Carolina Panthers. Now, before we get in today's video, like and subscribe. We are on the road to getting to 700 subscribers. But anyways, enough said with that. Let's just get into the video. And as you probably seen with the title, I titled this video, Did the Panthers Have a Fluke Season? And we're going to explain that a little bit more depth when we go look at specifically their depth chart of anything. But before we go look at their depth chart, we probably should just look at the free agency and the draft. Starting off, signing Jalen Phillips, that was a massive overpay with Jalen Phillips and his contract. But it isn't as big as, it's still a decent player, and I'm glad they added him. And I think a move that I don't even think it's here. Oh, never mind, he is. That I don't feel like a lot of people are talking about enough is Devin Lloyd. Like, Devin Lloyd is a good linebacker, and I don't know why people have been kind of like under the rug about it. Like, not a lot of people have been really talking about that. This is, in my opinion, the best move they made in free agency because one, the contract, it's pretty well organized, I think. And second of all, it fixes a need on their defensive front. So I think that's a really good thing. They also went and signed Kenny Pickett as a backup quarterback. They also went and signed John Mechie for depth purposes. Like, they did, do some decent stuff. They also went and signed Rashawn Walker. I forgot about that one. Another really good signing. I'm shocked as a Packers fan. He went for a 1 year, $4 million deal. A lot of people, including me, were thinking like he might be like 20 million, 25 million. I was even thinking maybe even 15 million per year, but he went for 4 million in a 1 year deal, which is so surprising to me. But they did do that while also losing some players. Like Bashawn Robertson was one. They lost Andy Dalton, Rico Dowell, which I think is one of the biggest ones. Christian Roseboom. They did lose some decent players, but not, I would say, a lot of noteworthy players except for Rico Dowell, because that was one of the biggest things to their team last year. Because he was one of the best running backs last year. And then looking at the draft, they did actually have a good draft. They went and addressed so many positions in the draft. Um, they went and got offensive line with Mono Freely, which I don't know how he was available at pick 19. Lee Hunter, which I think was a really good pick, who I think they actually went and traded up for, according to this at least. Chris Brazel, boomer bust prospect in my opinion. Not much of a uh it's a really boomer bust prospect there, but getting him in round 3, I think is pretty big for them. Will Lee could be a nice corner help. Sam Helch is nice depth. Ezekiel Weathland out of Penn State, also good depth. And then Jackson Clunch is just depth purposes. So they did do, I think, irreparably a good job in the draft and stuff. But I want to talk about, in particular, their roster. Also, like, I like their running back depth. Obviously, I do think their starting running back is worse, but their depth consists of A.J. Dillon, Jonathan Brooks, and Chuba Hubbard. I think it's pretty good depth. You also got Bryce Young. Like, looking at this roster, it's not that talented. Like, for example, yeah, their number one receiver is Terrell McMillan, but then their second receiver is Jalen Colker. Not a big name. Their offensive line isn't really big, and their defense isn't spectacular. Like, you know who their starting corner right now is? Their starting corners are Mike Jackson, who got cut by Seattle, if I'm not mistaken, J.C. Horn, and Cobb Smith Wade, according to ESPN, in terms of current depth charts. That is not a great secondary. Like, that's not great corners. They don't even really have a great secondary in general because the Nick Scott and Trellon Mark is their safeties. This is just such a, like, kind of half-built defense. In my opinion, I think it's kind of half-built. So you're kind of hoping for these rookies like Lee Hunter, Will Lee and to kind of make some big performances there. While on the offensive side of the ball, it's not that really impressive either. I mean, McMillan did win Rookie of the Year, granted, but I wouldn't really say there were a lot of big noteworthy names though out of the 2025 rookies so far. I'm just based off their rookie years. Like, I would say the most maybe noteworthy rookie was like Carson Swessinger, I'd say. I feel like he was probably the most noteworthy rookie, I think, this year, in my opinion. So, but that's just me. Like, like I said, I think probably one of the biggest problems with the team is just not having that like legit talent. Which is why I would like to see, like, even though I'm no offense to Mono or Freebie pick, but I would have liked to see this team go and trade for AJ Brown. Like, yeah, he is a bit of a head case, and I understand that, and yada yada yada. But like, that's a big player that they could have potentially added on their team. And it's just like they don't have a lot of those like great players. I mean, Devin Lloyd is great. Jalen Phillips could, if he could stay healthy. JC Horn, kind of the same case. Terrell McMillan and Bryce Young, but that's kind of about it. Oh yeah, and Derek Brown. I forgot about Derek Brown. Arguably one of the best interior defensive linemen right now in the league, by the way. Like, I would definitely say though their best player is Derek Brown. I think it's a pretty easy debate. So yeah, but that's kind of all I really have to say about their team. But now, looking at their schedule, this is not a very easy schedule, may I add. Sorry about that. There's my dog is sleeping right now. Um, like again, they start with the Bears, and then like past like week 4, then they have, and then week 4 they have Detroit, and they have a very early bye week, which then they kind of have like a little bit of a gauntlet here with the Eagles, the Buccaneers, the Packers, the Broncos. Take a break with the Saints, then they go against the Ravens, Bucks, Vikings, kind of. Then they take a little bit of a break with the Saints, and then they have the Bengals, Steelers, Seahawks, and then they have Falcons. So not an easy schedule. So starting off with their floor, I do think they are going to. I think is it controversial to say they get swept by Carolina, or not Carolina, New Orleans? I don't think so, just because of like history. I do think then you also get swept by Tampa Bay as well, but I do see you splitting the series with Atlanta. I do think Atlanta might be a better team than New Orleans, but I just think New Orleans kind of have had a number on them for a while. I do think then the Bears will beat you at home. The Browns will. No, I think you could beat the Browns on the road. I think that could happen. But you will definitely lose to the Lions at home. You will lose to the Eagles on the road. You will lose to the Packers on the road. You will lose to the Broncos at home. You will lose to the Ravens at home. You will lose to the Vikings on the road. You will lose to the Bengals at home and the Steelers on the road. Seattle Seahawks at home. Putting their record at a whopping at their floor 2-15. This is where I kind of like, they might have a fluke year. They might have it, just because like again their schedule is not easy, may I add. So now we're talking about their ceiling. I think then they could probably sweep. I think they could sweep New Orleans. I mean, I'm not saying they can't split the series with New Orleans. I'm just saying worst best case scenario. They will sweep Atlanta, as I think they did last year. And I think they split the series with the Bucks. So there's that. Uh I don't think you beat the Bears at home. I just don't see that. I think you do they beat the Bears at home? I don't know. I don't think so. They don't beat the Lions at home. You definitely don't beat the Eagles on the road. That's for sure. I do think you can beat the Packers on the road, though. You will lose to the Broncos at home for sure. You will lose to the Ravens at home. You will beat the Vikings on the road. I don't think you're going to beat the Bengals at home, but I do think you can beat the Steelers on the road, but you won't beat the Seahawks at home. Putting their ceiling at 9-8, maybe 10-7 with the Bears, but that's kind of about it. I think this is the farthest I can see this team go is 10-7. So their ceiling really should be 10-7. So yeah, like they kind of have to be the best version of this team to really even be back at that like 8-9 range. Which, yeah, I understand that like the NFC South isn't the greatest division and all. So like the chances of them winning like 5 games is not out of the question in their division at least. But I will say this, and I said this before last year even. This is one of the worst rosters ever, and they somehow made it in the playoffs. This roster is still not great. There are still some clear holes on this roster, and one of them is the lack of big talent, which I even said this previously with like the Packers last year, is that they were just lacking big time talent. And guess what? They went and got Micah Parsons, who's arguably the second best edge rusher in the league right now. If he can come back healthy and like he normally did, like played beforehand. So, but anyways, guys, I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. Honestly, I think the Panthers are just a fun team to always talk about. I feel like over the past few years. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoy, and I'll see you guys at the next one.